Two girls have shared in the group. Thank you so much. Because now I can't access to my WhatsApp, so therefore I can't see what's happening in the WhatsApp. I too need to know how many pages to be left. Uh, can someone, Takira asking a question? Can someone, Sharfa, someone give me a small response? Nobody's responding. Nobody's responding. Nobody's responding. If you have come to my classes, if you have come to my classes, just give a small idea how many, when it comes to vector MCQ discussion, how many pages we wrote. Just give a small reply. Just give a small reply. Now time is up. Time is up. Right. Yes, okay. Now, at the last MCQ we discussed was in page number 8, question number 13. Page number 8, question number 13. That was the last MCQ discussed. Right, okay. Now stay focused and we'll discuss question number 14, page number 8, 9, 14. Page number 8, 9, 14. Right, question number 14. Now stay focused, learn from every question. Learn something from every question. If you feel something is important, when I'm explaining, if you feel something is important, and if you feel better to write that as a theory point, what you should do is take your theory note and write in the theory note all the important points that you feel important. Always don't rely on the theory note that I give. Normally I give a standard theory note. Apart from that, if you feel something important during my discussions, during my explanations, immediately write all those points also in your theory note. That is must mandatory. Right. Story. Question number 14. 14. Time is 6:15. Right. Question number 14. Now let's read the question. Question number 14 is stay focused and learn. Keep your focus and learn. In 14, they are telling that the resultant of 9 vectors, we know resultant of vectors means there is another word, addition of 9 vectors. The resultant of 9 vectors, GB vector, BD vector, GD vector, AA vector, AE vector, D vector, AC vector, CF vector, and EF vector is. But the problem is, the thing is, they haven't given the diagram. I think they haven't given the diagram, therefore we can't do that question. We'll go to question number 15. We'll go to question 50. We can't do question number 14 because they haven't given the diagram. Diagram is missing. 14 diagram missing. Diagram is missing. We'll go to question number 15. In a triangle ABC, forces with magnitudes proportional to the lengths AB, BC, and 2CA act in the directions indicated. In a triangle ABC, forces with magnitudes proportional to the lengths AB and BC and 2CA act in the direction indicated. Magnitude and direction of the resultant forces. Magnitude and direction of resultant forces. Right. Give me 1 second. I think 14 questions diagram is in the 15 question. Question number 14's diagram is in the How many vectors are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think question number 14's diagram is in question number 15's question. Okay, we'll go to question number 14. Diagram is given. Diagram is given. I think mistakenly that is printed in question number 15. If I do the triangle, the triangle, the triangle. Now right. Now stay focused and learn. You also should draw the diagrams, the triangle. Yes. Now I'm talking question number 14. A, this is point capital A, point capital B, point capital C. Point capital A, here is point capital B, this is going to be point capital C. Point capital D is here, and point capital E is somewhere here, and point capital F, and point capital G. And they mentioned in the question 14, there are 9 vectors acting on this diagram. We should find the resultant of those 9 vectors. If not, we should find the addition of those 9 vectors. Now they have given the 9 vectors are GB vector. Where is GB? GB vector. This is our GB vector. This is GB vector. Okay. The next one is GB vector, comma BD vector. This is BD vector. B to D, BD vector. And the next one is DA vector. Next one is GD. Where is GD? This is our GD vector. G to D vector. And next vector is DAAE. DA vector. D to A, DA vector. AE, A to E, AE vector. DEECCF. DEECCF. DE. DEEC vector. CF vector. The last one going to be EF vector. The last one going to be EF vector. Right. Now very clear, yes, there are 9 vectors in this diagram and I want to find the resultant of those 10 vectors. What we can do here? Here what we can do here? Here what we can do here? Right. What can I do? Now I can consider, now see, just consider point capital G. Just consider point capital G, and when you consider GB vector, BD, DA, AE, EC and CF vectors, what should be the resultant of GB, BD, DA, AE, EC, CF? Reply in chat box. What should be the resultant of those vectors? Reply. Reply. Everyone reply in chat box. Reply everyone chat box. Reply everyone chat box. Reply everyone. I explained this story, this idea, the last day questions I explained. When you consider, only consider the vectors that I'm talking, that I'm saying. When you consider GB, BD, DA, AE, EC, CF vectors, what is the resultant? Reply everyone. Reply everyone. Reply everyone. Reply everyone. Reply. That should be GF vector. That should be GF vector. Right, initial point is here. See, I know if I draw the diagram, it takes time. Just consider this part. It takes time. It's okay. So very clear here. Very clear. This is point capital G. This is going to be point capital A. Right, now you can remember the polygon law of vector addition. Polygon law. We can remember polygon law. Polygon law. So polygon law says that start from one of the vectors. I'm starting from GB vector. I'm starting from GB vector. From the point where I finish drawing GB vector, I'm going to start drawing BD vector. From the point where I finish drawing BD vector, I'm going to start drawing DA vector. From the point where I finish drawing DA vector, from that point, I'm going to start drawing A vector. From the point where I finished drawing a vector, at point capital E only I finished drawing a vector, start drawing EC vector. Start drawing EC vector. From the point where you finish drawing EC vector, start drawing CF vector. Then very clear, anyone can understand how many vectors are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you consider these 6 vectors, initial point is here, final point is here. The resultant of these 6 vectors going to be, when you connect this initial point and final point by using a straight line, that is going to be the resultant of these 6 vectors. That is going to be the resultant of the 6 vectors. According to the polygon law. According to the polygon law. Polygon law. The resultant of this 6 vector is GF vector. Right? That's still clear. That's still clear. Then I can erase this GB vector. I can erase these 6 vectors. The resultant of these 6 vectors going to be a GF vector. And also, I didn't consider 3 more vectors, that is GD, DE, and EF. I draw those 3 vectors also for your understanding. Then this vector, again I'm going to follow polygon law of vector addition. Start from point capital G, starting from point capital G, I am drawing my first vector as GD. Right? From the point where I finish drawing my first vector, I finished drawing the first vector at point capital D, start drawing the second vector. Second vector is DE. From the point where you finish drawing the second vector, start drawing the third vector, EF. Then I understand that when I consider these 3 vectors, if I follow polygon law of vector addition, initial point is here, final point is here. When you connect initial point and final point together using a straight line, that is going to be resultant. Initial point to final point. Resultant going to be initial point to final point. This is going to be a resultant vector. Right? Resultant is GF vector. These 6 vectors resultant is GF vector. When you consider these 3 vectors, its resultant is going to be again GF vector. The ratio is how much we say? Sir, in these 9 vectors, when we consider 9 vectors, the resultant of these 10 vectors must be 2 GF and sum. So when you consider these 9 vectors, resultant of these 9 vectors must be 2 GF and sum. It's 2 GF. It's very clear. It's 2 GF. It's very clear. It's 2 GF. Then you can tell that the resultant vector. Learn these things. Learn. If you feel something important, write down. So you can write down resultant of. You can tell resultant is resultant of. If not, you can use the word addition of. Resultant of and addition of, they are same meaning. Resultant of, addition of. Addition of. 9 vectors going to be how much? Those 9 vectors going to be equal how much? Those 9 vectors going to be how much? That is going to be 2 GF vector. 2 GF vector. That's it. So then it's a nice question. I think it's a nice question. The answer for that question going to be, what is the answer? The answer for that question is how much? That answer for that question going to be question number 15. Answer must be 14. 14 answer must be a 2GF. I think second one is the answer. Second one is the answer. Then we'll go to the question number 15. Have they given the diagram for question number 15? Have they given the diagram for question number 15? I think they haven't given the diagram. I think they haven't given the diagram, but let's try to solve this question 15. In a triangle ABC, forces with magnitudes proportional to the lengths AB, BC, CE act in the directions indicated. The problem is they haven't given the diagram. That's the problem. If they haven't given the diagram, we can't exactly decide the result, and therefore we'll keep question 15 to do later, and we'll go to the question 16. When you go to question number 16, the resultant of given vector system is, the resultant of given vector system is, start trying 16. Start trying 16. Start trying question number 16. Quickly, you guys, don't waste your time and don't always try to listen what I'm explaining also. Start trying question number 16. Start trying question number 16. 16. In 16, the resultant of given vector system. If I draw the diagram, so we can see a kind of diagram like this. Right. Let's say now this is point capital A and this is point capital F. Point capital E, point capital C, point capital D, and point capital B. So if I mark the vectors, there is a vector AF vector. We can see there is AF vector. AF vector. And then we can see there is a vector AB vector. A to B vector. And BC vector this direction. And CD vector this direction. And DE vector this direction, DE vector. And EF vector is this direction. Right, EF vector. So what we can do here? Now remember, now sometimes suddenly you don't get the idea. You get the idea, the practice. With the exposure of doing some questions only, you get the idea to solve some questions like this. So now what I think is, right, when I see AB vector, BC, CD, DE, EF, they are arranged according to, when you consider, look here, when you consider AB, BC, CD, DE, EF, all those vectors are arranged in a same direction. Am I correct? When you start from AB vector to EF vector, they all are arranged in such a way, in one direction. Just try to apply polygon law of vector addition. Just try to apply polygon law of vector addition for AB. I'm starting from point capital A. Think I'm start to draw the diagram from point capital A. I've finished drawing my first vector AB. Right? I finished drawing the AB vector at point capital B. From the point where I finished drawing the first vector, I'm going to start drawing my second vector BC. From the point where I finished drawing the second vector, point C, I'm going to start drawing my third vector CD. And from the point I finished drawing the third vector CD, I'm going to do the fourth vector DE. Then from this point capital E, drawing the next vector EF. So these vectors are arranged in one direction. Looks like in clockwise direction. Our initial point is point capital A. Final point is point capital S. Then tell me what should be the resultant of, reply everyone in the chat box. What should be the resultant of AB, BC, CD, DE, and EF vectors? Reply everyone. What I'm asking, reply for my question. What should be the resultant of AB, BC, CD, DE, EF vectors? What is the resultant? What should be the resultant? What should be the resultant of? Now I'm not asking the final answer. Yeah, sometimes some of you got the final answer. I'm asking what should be the resultant of AB, BC, CD, DE, EF vectors? Respond what I'm asking. Respond what I'm asking. Yes, it's going to be AF. It's going to be AF. It's going to be AF, sir. It's going to be AF. Very simple, right? So the resultant of these vectors is going to be AF. Therefore, I'm removing this entire diagram. Yeah, I can remove it. So I remove this entire diagram, and instead of this entire vectors, the resultant going to be how much? Resultant going to be AF vector. The resultant is going to be AF vector. Then you understand that there are two AF vectors. There are two AF vectors. Therefore, the resultant of these two vectors going to be 2AF. The resultant going to be 2AF. Resultant vector going to be, the resultant vector going to be 2AF. Right? Resultant vector going to be 2AF vector. That's it. 16 done. Likewise, learn if you have doubts, you can ask. If you have doubt, you can ask. Then 16 discussed. Right. Next story. Question number 17. 7 they are telling that the resultant of two vectors acting at an angle of 6 degrees to root 3. If one of the vector is 2 units, what is the magnitude of the other? It's simple. The resultant of two vectors acting at an angle of 6 degrees is to root 3. If one of the vector is 2 newtons, what is the magnitude of other? Question number 17. 17, if I draw the given data into a diagram. Now there are two vectors. There are two vectors. This is one vector. Let's say this vector is vector P. This vector is vector P. And the second vector, let's say vector Q. Second vector is vector Q. They have given the angle between vector P and vector Q. The angle between these two vectors given as 6 degrees. Angle between these two vectors 60 degrees. Then we know that I told you that if there are two vectors arranged such a way diverging from a common point, if there are two vectors arranged such a way diverging from a common point, I explained that resultant will be in between these two vectors. Resultant will be in between these two vectors, passing through these two vectors. So this is my resultant, capital R. Resultant vector is capital R. And they mention the resultant of two vectors acting at an angle of 60 degrees to root 3. Magnitude of the resultant vector is how much? 2 root 3. Magnitude of the resultant vector is how much? 2 root 3. Right? And if one of the vectors is 2 units, that means magnitude of one of the vector is 2 newtons. Sorry, 2. Magnitude of one of the vector is 2, then you can take that magnitude of vector P, or you can consider magnitude of vector Q, or you can consider it as 2. Let's say now I'm considering a magnitude of vector P as 2. You know, if you want to mention magnitude of vector P, we are using vector P inside modulus. I explained theory classes. It says about magnitude of vector P is how much? That is 2. Then your target is to find the magnitude of vector Q. Then what we can do, we can remember the equation. If there are two vectors, and if you want to find the resultant vector, the equation, the general equation we derived is R squared equals P squared plus Q squared plus 2 PQ cos theta. You must learn by heart. You must learn by heart. The resultant vector equation is V. I taught you that capital R squared resultant magnitude resultant vector must be equal to P squared plus Q squared plus 2 PQ cos theta. 2 PQ cos theta. Then I know the magnitude of resultant vector, that is 2 root 3. Substitution. It's 2 root 3. Then 2 root 3 squared must be equal to a magnitude of vector P going to be 2. 2 squared plus. I want to find the magnitude of the other vector, that is simple Q. Let's say simple Q. Then your target is finding simple Q. Simple Q squared plus 2 magnitude of vector P, that is 2. Q, simple Q. Cos theta means what? Theta means angle between these two vectors. 60 degree cos 60. Cos 60. A substitution. Now the target is finding Q. When you find Q, you get the answer. Problem solved. Then try to find Q. If you try to find the Q, what will be the answer? Try to find the Q. When you try to find the Q, what will be the answer? So then 2 root 3 squared means we know that if you simplify it, 2 root 3 squared means you want to understand 2 root 3 into 2 root 3, right? 2 root 3 into 2 root 3. So then the 2 into 2 means 4. Root 3 into root 3 means just 3. 4 into 3 means we know it's 12. So therefore here it's 12. 12 must be equal to 2 squared means 4 plus simple Q squared plus simple Q squared plus now 2 into Q Cos 60 means half. Cos 60 means half. So then what I can do? I can cancel out these two and one of these two. Finally, I can write down an equation. Finally, I can write down, if I move this 12 to the left side, I can write down, see, q squared. There will be a quadratic equation. Q squared plus 2 simple q. Then 4 minus 12. 4 minus 12 means minus 8. Minus 8 must be equal to 0. Right. Now this is, you learned quadratic equations, you learned in all levels, and you know how to do these simplifications. Then you should take a common factor. What we can do, we can consider minus 8q square means what we can do. Minus 8 means 2 into 4. 2 into 4. 2 into 4. I can write down like this. I write down q squared plus 4q minus 2q. I am not explaining what I have done here. This is all level knowledge. Plus 4q minus 2q minus 8 must be equal to 0. Must be equal to 0. So then we can take a common factors. Consider these two as, consider these two and find the common factor of these two. Consider these two together. Then the common factor of these two going to be q. Then inside the bracket you can write down what? Q plus 4. Q plus 4 minus the common factor for these two going to be minus 2. Inside the bracket you can write down q plus 4. Must be equal to 0. Must be equal to 0. I think up to now everything is very clear. Raise your hands. Up to now everything is very clear, hands up. What I have done up to now, everything is very clear, hands up. Everything I explained in the theory classes, everything I explained, right? Everything I have explained, and I have given free access for many students who will enroll a bit later also, right? Get the maximum benefit and get ready to work with me, right? Okay. Then finally what we can do? Finally, what we can do? What we can do finally? You can take q minus 2. You can take q minus 2. Q minus 2 and q plus 4 must be equal to 0. Q plus 4 must be equal to 0. Now when you join for session, please put your 100% commitment and stay focused in a class. You are not a oral kid. Now you are an A student. Finally, we can write down two answers. Q equals 2 and q equals minus 4. We can write down two answers. Q can be equal to 2. If not, q is equal to minus 4. Q equals 2. And next one is q equals minus 4. Q equals minus 4. Then what is the right answer in this question? Question number 17, they are telling that. Question 7 they are telling that the resultant of two vectors acting at an angle of 60 degrees 2 root 3. If one of the vector is 2 new units, what should be the magnitude of the other vector? Then we understand this is a negative value. So therefore we are taking the right answer as 2. Right answer is 2. Then question number 17, the answer going to be second one. Answer going to be second one. 7 also discussed. Nothing new, I think. I have explained the similar questions many times in the theory classes. Therefore, this is not something new. Then we'll go to 18. We'll go to 18. If two vectors act at right angles, that means the angle between the two vectors is 90 degree. If two vectors act at right angles, their resultant is root 10. If they act obliquely at an angle of 60 degree to each other, the resultant is root 13 units. Give the magnitude of the vectors. It's a nice question. It's a nice question. Now they are telling, there are two vectors. They haven't given the magnitude of those two vectors. They haven't given. I don't know what is the magnitude of P and Q. But they mentioned when those two vectors are perpendicular to each other, when the angle between those two vectors is 90, then the resultant magnitude of the resultant vector is root 10. If I explain by drawing a sketch, look here, now there are two vectors. It's a nice question. Question number 80, nice question. Question number 80, nice question. Now there are two vectors. I don't know the magnitude of both the vectors. Let's say magnitude of this vector is P and magnitude of this vector is Q. My target is finding P and Q. That's my target. They mention when these two vectors are perpendicular to each other, magnitude of the resultant vector going to be root 10. Magnitude of the resultant vector going to be root 10. Resultant is how much? Root 10. Capital R is how much? Root 10. Fine, okay. Then I told you that if you can remember a special case, when there are two vectors perpendicular to each other, then I told you there's a special equation to find the resultant vector. That special equation is magnitude of the resultant vector, capital R squared, must be equal to P squared plus Q squared. So we learned an equation, magnitude of the resultant vector R squared must be equal to P squared plus Q squared. If there are two vectors, if you want the resultant vector, the general equation is R squared equals P squared plus Q squared plus 2PQ cos theta. If there are two vectors which are perpendicular to each other, this is a special story. In that case, to find the resultant vector, I taught you a equation like this. I'm not going to explain how this equation came. I hope you guys know the story. I'm not going to explain how this equation came. Then I can substitute my capital R is root 10, capital R square means 10 square. Right? Capital R means root 10, root 10 squared must be equal to, I want to find P and I want to find Q. I want to find P and I want to find Q. P squared plus Q squared. So I can simplify a little bit further. Root 10 squared means just 10. P squared plus Q squared equals just 10. Right? Nothing difficult. Nothing difficult. P squared plus Q squared must be equal to 10. I just take it as equation 1. In the question they are Yes. Now just someone confirm that. Can you hear me speaking? Can you hear me speaking? Just reply. Can you hear me speaking? Reply. Just reply. Reply quickly. If you can hear me speaking, reply. Reply. Can hear, right? Okay, can hear. And also, if you notice now, comparing with the normal classes, if you notice my voice, even though you hear my voice, even though my voice is not clear as usual days, in that case, tell me, quicker, tell me, put a quick reply because I don't know what's happening. Therefore, respond. If you notice some kind of error, some kind of issue happening in the videos or something, immediately respond me. Right, okay. Now, where I was explaining here, I was explaining somewhere here. I was explaining somewhere here. Right. I was explaining somewhere here. Yes. Then now they are telling a story. I want to find these two vectors. I don't know magnitude of vector P and I don't know magnitude of vector Q. I want to find P and Q. We learned that if there are two vectors perpendicular to each other, then the resultant vector can be found by R squared equals P squared plus Q squared equation. This is a special equation. I explained, can you remember I explained special case 1 and special case 2 when I was teaching vectors. Then I substitute this equation and then we can write down root 10 squared must be equal to P squared plus Q squared. Then I got that P squared plus Q squared going to be equal to 10. But the problem is, can I find the answer? Can I find POQ? We can't find POQ. The reason is what? Even though there's an equation, there are two unknowns in one equation. When there are two unknowns in one equation, by using only this one equation, we are not able to find P or Q. Therefore, somehow we should find another equation involving P and Q. That's why they are telling further. That's what they are telling further in the question. They are telling further in the question. They are telling if they act obliquely at an angle of 60 degree to each other, the resultant is root 13. In the beginning, these two vectors are perpendicular to each other. Now they are telling same two vectors, the angle between those two vectors is going to be 60 degrees. Let's say vector P is still at the horizontal direction, vector Q is this direction. Now the angle between these two vectors is 60 degrees. Then they are telling resultant of these two vectors going to be root 13. The magnitude of the resultant of these two vectors is going to be root 13. Right? Capital R is going to be root 13. Then this is a general case when there are two vectors and if the angle between these two vectors is 60 degrees and if I want to find resultant vector, we know the equation, this equation R squared equals P squared plus Q squared plus 2PQ cos theta. Now substitute the known values and try to simplify the equation. Substitute with the known values and try to simplify the equation. Then we know my capital R going to be root 13. Then root 13 squared. Root 13 squared. Magnitude of vector P, that is P, actually I don't know. It's P. See the idea. Then P squared. Magnitude of vector Q also I want to find. I don't know. Q. Then P squared plus Q squared. Plus 2 into I don't know P as well as I don't know Q. Cos theta means cos 60. Cos theta means we know theta going to be 60 degrees. Then understand cos 60 means how much? Cos 60 means half. Cos 60 means half. Then you can simplify a little bit. When you simplify a little bit, what you can do here is you can cancel out this 2 and this 2. Root 13 squared means just 13. Remember root 13 into root 13 equals root 13 equals just 13. If I simplify further here, this side simplify further. I can write down P squared plus Q squared. If you can do just, you guys keep on doing P squared plus Q squared. P squared plus Q squared plus now plus there is only P into Q. P into Q. P into Q must be going to be equal to how much? Must be equal to root 13 square means just 13. Just 13. I just take this equation as equation 2. Right, okay. Hands up to now, how the way I obtained equation 1 and now based on the given data. Initially, they are telling there are two vectors, vector P and vector Q. When the two vectors are perpendicular, I apply this equation and I obtain an equation that is equation 1. And they are telling us another scenario when the angle between these two vectors is 60 degrees. Then they are telling a different story. I followed this equation and I obtained my equation 2 as something like this. Raise your hands how many of you understood how the way I obtained equation 1 and equation 2 very clearly answer. The way I obtained equation 1 and equation 2 very clear answer. How the way I obtained equation 1 and equation 2 very clearly. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Right. I think you all understood these two equations. Now see, there are two unknowns, P and Q. How many equations are there? There are two equations. According to mathematics, you know that when there are two unknowns and if you have the two equations, you should be able to get the answers for P and Q. The normally thumb rule is in maths, if there are two unknowns and if you have two equations, then definitely you should, when you do the simplification properly, you should be able to get the answers for P and Q. But very clear that we can understand the simplification seem like very complex. Equation 2 is P squared plus Q squared plus P into Q equals 13. And here P squared plus Q squared equals 10. Right. So what shall I do? Okay, I write this equation also nearby equation 2. Right. What can I do? I also have no idea what can we do. Learn these simplification methods. Learn. I think you might don't have experience, exposure of doing such simplifications. By focusing, by listening, by experiencing such simplifications, learn something. Learn something. P squared plus Q squared going to be equal to how much? 10. Equation 1. Now what we can do here? What we can do here? Right now, what any ideas? Do you guys hands up? Any student, any gym in the class found P and Q answer? Any gym in the class found P and Q answer? Any gym? Raise your hands. Any student in the class found P and Q answer? There are two students. There are two students found P and Q. There are two students found P and Q. Very good. If you found P and Q, very good, huh? Very good. You guys keep on doing the remaining MCQs. How to find P and Q? How to find P and Q? Now there are different approaches. There are different approaches. But what I thought of doing is, I thought of doing something like this. Since look here, since P squared plus Q squared, addition of P squared and Q squared going to be 10. In my equation 1 also, in my equation 2 also, you can see that there is P squared plus Q squared. Am I correct? We know that P squared plus Q squared going to be equal to 10. In my equation 2 also, we can see there is P squared plus Q squared term. Then tell me what should be the value of P squared plus Q squared? That is 10. So what you can do, rather than writing P squared plus Q squared, you can substitute here it as 10. Then from equation 2, let's see what I'm doing. From equation 2, see what I'm doing. Then P squared plus Q squared is 10. I hope you understand why I put 10. Must be going to be equal to P into Q plus P into Q must be going to be equal to 13. Then what you can do, you can move this 10 to the right side. Then P into Q, 13 minus 10 means just 3. You can write down P into Q means how much? Just 3. P into Q must be P into Q must be just 3. Fine. Right. Now, I know that you might never experience a simplification, but we can't deny doing these questions. Therefore, learn. Learn something from every question. Learn something. Learn something. Hands up, any gym in the class finished. Once you finish doing, if you found P and Q values, hands up. If you found P and Q values, just raise your hands. Don't raise down. If you found P and Q, very good. Raise your hands. Nice, very nice. That means you are in a good track. There are 2 students finished finding P and Q, very good. If you didn't get the idea, completely all right. Completely all right. Completely all right. We'll do it. And today we can't give that much of time because I want to finish these questions, right? Now we all the time can't give time also because we have very limited time. Now yesterday we have done around 3 hours and today we are doing two and a half an hour. Remember, it's something too much for a batch which started earlier, but we have doing because want to make your brains to think. That's why taking this much of time and doing, right? Just do it. Just do it. Nice simplifications. What do you think now? I will subject Q. If I subject Q, we can write down Q as what? Q means what? Q equals what? Q equals 3 over P. 3 over P. 3 over P. Just take this Q equals 3 over P as equation number 3 something. Equation number 3 something. Now what I'm going to do is, now there are 3 students finished. Simplifying. Very good. Hands up, give some time. Hands up, sir. Give some time. We'll do it. Hands up. Sir, give us some time. Sir, give us some time. We'll try. Sir, give us some time. We'll try. Give us some time. Hands up. Sir, give some time because I want to try. I want to try. Give some time. Yes. No, I'm not going to give that much of time. Just take 5 minutes and try to solve something. Now I give the idea. Okay, we came up to here. I hope you guys understood how the way I came up to here. Then what you do, please try to substitute 3 over P in here. If you try to substitute 3 over P in here, you will be able to get the answer. Okay, you will be able to get the answer quickly. Just get it. And if you have doubts or if you have any concerns, you can ask me. So then shall I pray and come? Okay, you can go and pray and come, no issues. And if you need at what time, Isha? Can someone tell me the Isha? Then we can give a small break in between. At what time you guys have Isha? At what time, Isha? Uh, 7:35, like 7:44 and 7:35. So I will give a break at 7:30. 7:30 is enough, right? I'll give a break at 7:30 or 7:25. But don't waste your time when you come for a session. Somehow give your maximum. I know that in the beginning stages, yes, some simplifications are not easy as you think. Just because you could not do, just because someone has already done, and don't look at them. You just keep on trying till you get the answer. You just keep on trying. Don't look at others. There are many finished. I think how many finished? There are lots of students finished. I think 7 students finished doing the question. Great. That means you are very good. That means you are very good. You guys in a good level, good position. Very good. So what I am doing? Now what I am doing, I am going to consider equation 1 and equation 3. If I consider equation 1 and 3, what we can write down? So what we can write? If you consider equation 1 and 3, then what we can write? So we can write like this. We can write P squared. Okay, P squared P squared, P squared plus Q squared. We know Q means how much? Q means 3 over P. We all know Q means how much? 3 over P. 3 over P squared. 3 over P whole squared. We all know that Q means how much? Q equals to 3 over P. Must be equal to Justin. Now somehow I reduced earlier all the previous equations. There were two variables, two unknowns. Somehow now in this equation there is only one unknown, that is P. Now I want to simplify and I want to get the answer. I want to simplify and I want to get the answer, but still this simplification is not easy as you think. See, starting from here and still doing and doing and doing, I think, see, it's not easy. But still, this simplification is not easy as you think. Now, what we can do? Sir, I can expand the bracket. It's not easy. P squared, P squared. And yesterday I asked some students to send the homework, but majority didn't send. I can remember only two students have done the question and sent me. That's completely all right. I'm not going to ask or I'm not going to blame you. Telling is my responsibility. Telling is my responsibility. And it doesn't matter whether you do or you don't do. I don't care actually. But as a teacher, I want to guide you properly. Because in the end, no one should blame me. Teacher hasn't done this. Teacher didn't do this, do that. I don't want to get any blame from you all. Therefore, telling is my responsibility. I'm very happy that there were two students who done and sent me. One is, I think, Misra sent, very good. And next one is Senistika has sent. Other than that, I didn't receive any other student have done that and sent me. It's completely all right. But remember, dedication must be at this level, right? If I say something, you should do that. That's the way of doing physics subjects. That's the way of working with a teacher, right? That's completely all right. But every time, next week also, today also, I'm telling something to do. Today also, I'm giving deadline. Normally, my physical class students, how the way they do, normally I give a deadline one before one name. Now, today, if I do a physical class, I tell them to try the questions. Normally, I don't expect answers from students. I only want to see whether they have really attempted, whether they have really tried or not. So therefore, I tell them do these questions as homework and send the homeworks today itself before 12 a.m. before 1 a.m. Then I know that many students they can't get the final answer. I don't mind getting final answer, but I see that they have tried actually. They have tried some steps and they cut and they try to write something. Again they cut. They couldn't get the final answer. They kept in the middle. That's what I want. I want them to try. Likewise for you also, I'm telling today also I'm going to give some works. Today also I'm going to give some works. Redo and send me. That's must. Okay. Now I am giving this as homework. How to find P? Try to find P. Expand the bracket and then P to the power 4 something coming. Expand the bracket and try to find this as homework. This question is homework. This question is homework. This question is homework. Homework, nice question. I think I have done almost 60%. 40% to go. Homework. 17. Question number 18, homework. Nice question. It's a homework. Hereafter I'm not doing, but I will discuss next day. I will discuss next day, but it's homework. Then where were we? Where were we? So then question number 17, I came to a mid. Question number 17 discussed and 18 I think I have done up to middle and I stopped. Question number 19. Question number 19. 19 they're asking that what must be the angle between the vectors for the resultant of two vectors of equal magnitude to be equal to the magnitude of that vector. Question number 19. Question number 19 what they are telling. 19 what they are asking. 19 what they are asking. 19 what they are asking. So we'll take a break at 7:25. Till that we'll do. Till that we'll do. This is a homework. Today itself, you should send me. Could you please upload the recording of yesterday's class? I left the class before 9 due to a power cut. I didn't join the class yesterday because journey. Right, okay. Next story, next MCQ, question number 19. What must be the angle between the vectors for the resultant of two vectors of equal magnitude to be equal to the magnitude of that vector? Now what they are telling, really confusing. 19 seemed like very confusing question. Right, let's try to understand what they are asking actually. Now they are telling now there are two vectors. There are two vectors. I just draw one vector is in horizontal direction. One vector is in horizontal direction. And I just draw the other vector. This is my other vector. One vector is in horizontal direction. This is my other vector, second vector. If I name those two vectors, I can give the names. Let's say this vector is vector P. This vector is vector P. And this vector going to be vector Q. Vector P, vector Q. But they mentioned that these two vectors are having same magnitude. We know in vectors, we know that vectors have magnitude and direction both. Just because two vectors having same magnitude, if their directions are different, then we know that those are two different vectors. Now in this case also there are two different vectors. Why? Their directions are different. Vector P's direction is to the right side, vector Q's direction is this direction. There are two vectors, but those two vectors having same magnitude. Those two vectors having same magnitude. If I say magnitude of this vector is 2 Newton, magnitude of this vector also should be 2 Newton. They haven't given the magnitude, but they are telling there are two vectors. They have same magnitude. Therefore, I just mark magnitude of both the vectors. I just mark it as simple Q. Magnitude of both the vectors. I just mark it as simple Q. Magnitude of both the vectors. I just mark it as simple Q, simple Q. Right? Angle between these two vectors, they haven't given the question. I think that's what they are asking. They are asking the question, the angle between these two vectors only. What they are telling is, let's say angle between these two vectors, I just mark it as theta. I just mark it as theta. In the question they are telling the resultant of these two vectors. We all know that when two vectors are arranged such a way, diverging from a common point, the resultant vector passing through these two vectors, the resultant vector passing through these two vectors. What have they mentioned is, there are two vectors having equal magnitude QQ. When you consider the resultant vector's magnitude also going to be equal to magnitude of one of the vectors. What is the magnitude of one of the vector? Simple Q. They are telling resultant vector's magnitude also going to be Q. To satisfy this scenario, what should be the angle theta? What should be the angle theta? Answer. This question is clear answer. This question is clear answer. This question is clear answer. Clear. Then what we can do now? What we can do now? So we have no idea. Only we know that when there are two vectors acting theta angle with an angle theta, then what we know is we can apply the equation r squared equals p squared plus q squared plus 2p cos theta. Other than that, we don't know what to do. I'm also following same story. I feel like that I want to apply r squared equals p squared plus q squared plus 2p cos theta. But I want to find theta. Even I also have no option. So therefore, what I know is applying this general equation, r squared equals p squared plus q squared plus 2pq cos theta. Right. And now magnitude of resultant vector is again q. Magnitude of vector p, that is also q. This is also q. Plus 2p means q into q. 2qq. Cos, I want to find theta. I want to find theta. Finally, now simplify. Even I also have no idea. So what we know is applying this general equation. And I substituted like this. Just try to simplify. Then here we know that q squared. Here we know it's q squared must be equal to q squared plus q squared means you should understand it's 2 simple q squared plus 2 q into q means we know it's q squared into cos theta. My target is finding theta. My target is finding theta. I understood the question. A very nice story they have told in the question. Magnitudes of both the vectors are same. The resultant vector also equal to the magnitude of one of the vector. Nice story they have given. I want to find theta. So now here we can take 2q squared as a common factor outside. Yes. Now I am following all the steps. 2q squared, if I take this common factor, 1 plus. Okay. If I take 2q squared out, 1 plus. If I take 2q squared out, cos theta. Seem like we are getting an answer. Seem like we are getting an answer. Seem like we are getting an answer. So now we can cancel out this q squared and this q squared. Then here it's going to be 1. Here it's going to be 1. 1 equals 2. 1 plus cos theta. 1 plus cos theta. See, nice story, right? Nice simplifications. So I can move this 2 into 1 plus cos theta. You can move this 2 to this left side. It becomes then 1 over 2. It becomes 1 over 2. Half. Half going to be equal to 1 plus 1 plus cos theta. 1 plus cos theta. Just substitute cos theta. When you substitute cos theta, your cos theta going to be how much? You want to move this 1 to the left side. Then it becomes minus 1. Half minus 1. Half minus 1 means, remember, minus half. Genuinely hands up. Up to now, everything is very clear answer. Cos theta equals minus half. Up to now, everything is very clear answer. Up to now, everything is very clear answer. Raise your hands. Up to now, everything is very clear answer. Very clear. Very clear. Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. Right. What must be the angle between vectors for the resultant of two vectors of equal magnitude to be equal to the magnitude of the vector? Magnitude of the vector. Right. Look here. So you want to find the angle theta. My target is, I almost found that cos theta is minus half. You are not very familiar why we are getting a minus half. You are not very familiar. So why are we getting minus half? Why are we getting minus half? Why are we getting minus half? You don't have a problem. You have a problem. Right. Now look here. Somewhere else, a special note and draw this table. I think I explained normal sine cosine table. Sine 0 means 0, sine 30 is half, and sine 45 means 1 over root 2, sine 60 means root 3 over 2, sine and is 1. Cos 0 means 1, cos 30 is root 3 over 2, cos 45 means 1 over root 2, cos 60 means half, cos 90 means 0. And then I told you that tan 0 is 0, tan 30 is 1 over root 3, tan 45 means exactly 1, tan 60 is root 3, tan 90 not defined. Tan is not defined. We'll draw the expanded table also. Okay. Now, I know that now we got stuck here. Cos theta is minus half. If it is just half, we all know what is theta. Reply, if it is just cos theta equals just half, what should be theta? Tell me. If it is cos theta equals half, what should be the angle theta? Tell me. What should be the angle theta? What should be the angle theta? The angle must be 60. The angle must be 60. The angle must be 60, right? If it is just half, we know that theta must be 60. But the problem is, sir, we are getting minus half, sir. In that case, how can we find the answer? Right. Now we are going to draw a table, expanded, extended version of that sine cosine table. We are going to draw it. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, time is 7:20. Time is 7:20. We'll take a small break and come. 10-minute break. Now, if you want to pray something, quickly pray and come. So time is 7:19. Come at 7:30. We are doing until 8:30. Come at 7:30. We are doing until 8:30. Quickly, come quickly. Take a break and come quickly. Uh, yes. Just again, okay, time is almost 7:30. Someone tell me now voice is clear. Someone respond voice is clear. If your voice is clear, just someone start draw this diagram also. Respond someone voice is clear. Sound is clear. Respond someone. Respond. It's clear, right? It's clear, right? Now, what you do, you should know already. We know that I explained in the classes sine, cos, tan tables up to 0 degree to 90 degree. That story we all very familiar. 0 to 90 degree, sine 0, how much? Sine 30, sine 45, cos 60, cos 90, tan 30, tan 40, tan 65. This story I taught you in the classes, and now you are very familiar since you are using these values, these angles. You can remember corresponding sine, cos, tan values. You can remember the story. But remember, I will tell you exact logic behind these values, not now, with the time. After 3, 4 months later, if someone asks, just ask me if you can remember. After 3, 4 months later, someone asks me, sir, how these values are coming? I will tell you not now, I will tell you later. Currently, what you do, just learn by heart. If you can, better you learn by heart these values also. Now you don't need to put a big effort to learn by heart sine, cos, tan, 0 to 90. Already you can remember the story. Also, you remember what will happen when sine 120 is how much? Sine cos 120 is how much? Tan 120 how much? Sine 135 how much? Cos 150 how much? That story also you don't remember, right? You remember. I'm not going to explain anything beyond this. You must write down this somewhere else. You must write down this somewhere else in your notebook. In your notebook, write the story also. And now we'll go back to the remaining story. Now, actually, we got stuck. Actually, the question was there were two vectors. There are two vectors, both the vectors having same magnitude, and we wanted to find the angle between those two vectors. But they mentioned the magnitude of resultant vector also equal to magnitude of one of the two vectors. And we have done something, 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 and we ended that cos theta equals minus half. Right? Cos theta equals minus half. If it is minus half, what should be your angle theta? Just go to the table and tell me if the cos theta is minus half, what is the corresponding theta value? Tell me the theta value. If the cos theta is minus half, what should be a theta? What should be a theta? Minus half. Cos minus half, theta going to be 120 degrees. Theta going to be 120 degrees. 120. 120. That question also discussed. Discussed. 19 also nice story. Discussed. If you have doubts, you can ask. I will explain how these values came, how sir you are taking these values as like this. I'm not teaching right now. It's not compulsory, it's not in syllabus also. But to make you familiar, the logic behind this table, I will explain not now, later. When you do combined maths, you will learn the stories. But anyways, I will teach you not now, later. Later, that story also done. That's also done. Next one. Next story. Next story. Okay, question number 19 also discussed. Question number 20. 20. What must be the angle between the above two vectors, right? What must be the angle between the above two vectors so that the resultant of the two vectors is half the magnitude of the one vector? What they're telling, I don't know what they're asking. We found question number 19. Question number 20, they say that what must be the angle between the above two vectors so that the resultant of two vectors is half the magnitude of one vector. Look at the story. Look at the story. Question number 19, 20. What they are asking in question number 20. Question number 20, again, same two vectors are there. Now, in question number 19, these two vectors having same magnitude QQ. Question number 20 also talking about these two vectors. In question number 20 also, they are talking about these two vectors. I draw these two vectors. There are two vectors having same magnitude. There are two vectors having same magnitude. Carefully listen. There are two vectors having same magnitude. I just marked these two vectors having magnitude, simple Q, simple Q. This time they are asking the angle between these two vectors in order to be resultant vector. Okay, I want to find the angle between these two vectors. I want to find now theta. This time they are telling the resultant vector's magnitude is half of one of the vector. Magnitude of one of the vector is q. The resultant vector's magnitude is half of one of the vector. Then what should be the magnitude of resultant vector? Tell me. There are two vectors having equal magnitude. I defined magnitude of each vector is simple q, simple q. They are telling the resultant vector's magnitude is half of one of the vector. Then tell me what should be the magnitude of resultant vector in terms of q? What should be the magnitude of resultant vector in terms of q? Reply. Reply. What should be the magnitude of resultant vector in terms of q? Tell me what should be the magnitude of resultant vector. Tell me. Everyone just respond. Respond, everyone. Everyone respond quickly. No, everyone respond. What should be the magnitude of resultant vector? How much? Reply, everyone. Everyone reply. Everyone can do. Everyone can understand. Reply, everyone. What should be the magnitude of resultant vector? The resultant vector magnitude how much? Q over 2. It's Q over 2. Very good. It's Q over 2. It's Q over 2. Half Q, if not Q over 2. The resultant vector's magnitude going to be Q over 2. Then what should be the angle theta? Again, you want to apply same story. Again, I'm applying same story. I'm starting from the general equation. There are two vectors. Angle between those two vectors is theta. The resultant vector's magnitude is Q over 2. I'm using the general equation, R squared. R squared equals, we all know that. R squared, we all know that P squared plus Q squared plus 2PQ cos theta. R, I know that it's Q over 2. R squared means Q over 2 squared. Again, simplification. Q over 2 squared. P is Q squared plus Q is Q squared plus 2. P is Q. Q is also Q. Cos. I want to find the angle theta. I want to find the angle theta. Find the angle theta. Find the angle then. Find the angle. Then when you expand the bracket Q squared over 4, you are getting here Q squared over 4. Q squared over 4 must be equal to Q squared plus Q squared means again 2Q squared. 2Q squared, same story. I will take 2Q squared as my common factor and I directly write the step. 1 plus cos theta. Almost done. Almost finished. Nice stories. Now, likewise, normally I am doing lots of questions for your batch. Relative to the 26 batch, for the 27 batch, I am planning to do lots of questions. Right? I am planning to do lots of questions. Normally, other classes, they are not doing questions. Then I can simplify it. If this 2, now here there is 1. If I bring this 2 to the denominator, it's going to be 1 over 8. It's going to be 1 over 8. It's going to be 1 over 8 must be equal to 1 plus cos theta. When you substitute cos theta. Substitute cos theta. Finally, if you substitute cos theta. If you substitute cos theta. If you substitute cos theta. Cos theta going to be how much? 1 over 8 minus 1. 1 over 8 minus 1 means how much? 1 over 8 minus 1 means, you want to understand 1 over 8 minus 1 means, just simplify it and get the answer, minus 7 over 8. Minus 7 over 8. When you substitute theta, finally, theta going to be cos inverse. Theta going to be cos inverse minus 7 over 8. Are there any answer? Theta equals cos inverse. Cos inverse minus 7 over 8. Are there any answer like this? Theta equals cos inverse minus 7 over 8. Are there any answer? Are there any answer? Yes. Answer is fifth one. Answer is 5. Answer is 5. Time is almost 7:40, but we want to do lots of questions. 20, answer is 5. 5. See now, we'll cover the theory, but every question we learn something new. We learn at least a new simplification method. Therefore, grab that. Whatever you feel important, write on in your note as your own note. 20 done. 20 done. 20 done. 20 done. There are lots of simplifications are there. Okay, 20 done. Right. 20 done. 21. 21. This is a nice question. Now I'm worrying that I am going to do this question. Right. If I do the question, then you don't get the taste of that question. Therefore, I don't want to try this question, because if I try it and when you just observe what I am doing, then no improvement, right? Question number 21, they are telling if the magnitude of the resultant of two vectors of magnitude a plus b, a minus b is a square plus b square, then the cosine of angle between them is, I think you want to find cos theta, then cos theta, then cos theta, then cos theta, then cos theta, cos theta. What I do, I give it as homework. Let's see today homework. I am not doing that. Question number, what question I gave as a homework, tell me? What question I gave you as a homework, I done up to a certain level and I stopped and I told you to guys to try. What question is that? Someone tell me what question is that? What is that question? What is that question? That question is what? 18. Is it 18? It's 18. Remember homework, question number 18 homework. Today before 1 a.m. You can send it today before 1 a.m. Deadline is before 1 a.m. Before 1 a.m. today. That means 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. Before 1 a.m. you want to send this. Question number 18 pending. And this question number 21. Question number 21 homework. I can do, but better you try it. Next day I will do it. Next day I will do it before 1 a.m. Then I will do question number 22. 22. Four vectors of magnitudes 3, 4, 5, 6 act in north, south, east, and west respectively. If the magnitude and direction of their resultant forces. Now simple. Right? 22. Question number 22. Not difficult. North, west, east, south. There are four vectors. 3, 4, 5, 6. North, south, east, west. This vector is 3. North vector. South vector is magnitude of the south vector is 4. North, south. East. Magnitude of the east direction vector is 5. Magnitude of the vector in the west should be 6. There are 4 vectors. I want to find the resultant of these 4 vectors. Simple. Very simple. I want to find the magnitude and direction of the resultant force. Right, okay, very simple. Now what we can do here? Here what we can do, now there are 4 vectors. I told you when there are 4 vectors, what you want to do? First of all, you want to find the resultant vector in the x direction. You want to find the resultant vector in the horizontal direction. I explained these stories. Then we can write down. Then we can write down, see, then we can write down. Then we can write down the resultant vector, magnitude of the resultant vector in the horizontal direction. That's going to be how much? That's going to be 5 minus 6. That is what? Minus 1. You know what is the meaning of minus 1? I explained. What is the magnitude of resultant vector in the vertical direction? I consider upward direction vectors are positive, then downward direction vectors are negative. Upward vector is 3 plus 3, downward vector is minus 4. Minus 4, therefore it's minus 1. Then what is the meaning of resultant vector in the horizontal direction is minus 1? That is in the left side direction. So your capital X going to be in the left side direction 1. Right, capital X going to be 1 in the left side direction. And also your capital Y also going to be, now it's minus 1. The meaning of Y equals minus 1 means the resultant vector in the vertical direction is in downward direction. I explained these stories. Then angle between these two vectors is 90. The resultant will always pass between these two vectors, across these two vectors. Resultant vector is capital R. Resultant vector capital R. Simple, right? What is the equation? If there are two vectors which are perpendicular to each other, when there are two vectors perpendicular to each other, if you want to find the resultant vector, the equation is, we all know that r squared is equal to capital X squared plus capital Y squared. Substitute. Capital X is 1, capital Y also 1. 1 squared plus 1 squared plus 1 squared, that is equal to r squared. That is equal to r squared. So when you substitute r, how much? When you subject r, now here 1 square plus 1 square means 1 plus 1 square means 1. 1 plus 1 means 2. If we subject r, r is going to be root 2. If we subject r, r going to be root 2. This magnitude of the resultant vector is root 2. Magnitude of the resultant vector is root 2. Not only they are asking the resultant vector magnitude. If you can't see here, remember here capital R is root 2. Remember here capital R is root 2. Remember here capital R is root 2. Root 2. And also they are asking the angle. And also they are asking the angle. They are asking the angle in this question. Magnitude and direction of their resultant forces. I will ask you a question. I will ask you a question. Look here. This story. Now I want to find this angle. Look here. I want to find this angle. Look here. I want to find this angle alpha. Raise your hands. How many we say, sir, when you consider vector x and vector y, they are having same magnitude 1, 1. Vector x and vector y, they are having same magnitude 1, 1. Therefore, sir, since these two vectors having same magnitude, alpha must be 45 degrees answer. Raise your hands, how many we say alpha must be 45 degrees answer. Alpha must be 45 degree answer. Alpha must be 45 degree answer. It should be 45 degrees. Can you remember? I told you one story, important theory. If you want to write down again, just write down. I told you that when there are two vectors having equal magnitude, remember important theory point. Remember when there are two vectors having equal magnitude. When there are two vectors having equal magnitude, remember the resultant vector will be the angle bisector of the angle between those two vectors. Let's say angle between those two vectors is theta, for an example. There are two vectors having equal magnitude. Angle between these two vectors is theta. Remember, the resultant vector will be the angle bisector of the angle between these two vectors. Remember, if the resultant is the angle bisector, this theta going to divide into 2 equally. This is theta over 2. This angle is theta over 2. The same story here. There are two vectors. Angle between these two vectors is 90 degrees. If the two vectors having equal magnitude, the resultant will be the angle bisector of 90 degree. This alpha must be 45. If not, you can do the calculation and you can find the answer, but I am not finding using calculation. This story. And also red color pen, super red color pen, important write down. 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 Special note. When there are two vectors having different magnitude, when there are two vectors having different magnitude, when there are two vectors having different, very carefully write down this story, very important. When there are two vectors having different magnitude, arrange such a way diverging from a common point, comma, 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 the resultant vector always, closer to the vector, the resultant vector always closer to the vector Resultant vector always closer to the vector having larger magnitude. Resultant vector always closer to the vector having larger magnitude. Very important story. I will tell you what I explained there. Remember, this is important. Very important. Now let's take two force vectors. I say that there are two force vectors. They are having different magnitudes. When you consider one force vector is 5 Newton, other force vector, let's take it as 2 Newton. There are two force vectors. Let's say for an example, this vector is 5 Newton and this other vector is for an example 2 Newton. And we can understand that these two vectors are arranged such a way diverging from a common point. That is also clear. Now we know that the resultant vector will pass the resultant vector will pass between these two vectors through diverging point. That story we know. We know the resultant vector will be in between these two vectors. That story is very clear. But remember, specifically, resultant vector is always closer to the vector having larger magnitude. Now, in this scenario, we know that this vector is having larger magnitude 5 Newton. This vector is having smaller magnitude 2 Newton. Remember, actually, the resultant vector really closer to the larger vector. So when you consider the gap between the resultant vector and the smaller vector is larger when you compare with the gap between larger vector and the resultant. Always remember the story. Write down example. Example, write down resultant vector always closer to the vector having larger magnitude. Example number 2. Just draw some stories. Example number 2, let's say one vector is right side direction 9 Newton. Other vector is, let's say, this direction 6 Newton. Then we understand that the larger vector is the vector having larger magnitude is 9 Newton. In that case, remember, your resultant vector will be closer to larger vector. Always remember the resultant vector will closer to the larger vector. Then I will ask you one question. If there are two vectors having same magnitude, in that case, where would be the resultant vector? Our hand supposes that if there are two vectors having same magnitude, the resultant vector will be the middle of both the vectors' answer. If the vectors having equal magnitude, the resultant will be in the middle of both the vectors. That's what I explaining. The resultant is the angle bisector if the two vectors having equal magnitude. This to note down. Note down. Time is almost 7:52, but I will do a few more questions because we don't have that much of time. I will do a few more questions because we won't finish it. We want to finish stories, right? More the questions we do that, we get the confidence, right? If we do less amount of questions, yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy that we can quickly finish the theory and we can go forward. But the problem is, remember, more the questions we do, only you get the real exposure, you get the confidence. Now see today questions. After, if you properly understood what I explained everything, right, you might have got a nice confidence, right? So therefore, we should do more questions. We should do more questions. We should do more questions. Right. Then 22 also done. 22 discussed. 22 discussed. Right. We'll go to question number. We'll go to question number 29. We'll go to question number 29. We'll go to question number 29. Now read question number 29. It's a nice question. The figure shows how a vector system is represented graphically. They are resultant forces. They are resultant forces. The resultant forces. Look at here. Question number 29. Question number 29. Right. I erase this. I think today you learned something, right? I hope that you guys learn something every day when you join for my classes. These two homeworks. Question number 29. Figure shows how a vector system is represented graphically. The resultant forces. 209, the resultant forces. Super red color important write down. Super red color pin important write down. Super red color important write down. When following polygon law for a vector system. When following polygon law for a vector system, comma. If it is not at, if it is not at, if it is not at initial point and final point are the same. If it is not at initial point and the final point are the same. Initial point and final point are the same, comma. Then the resultant vector, then the resultant vector, then the resultant vector, then the resultant vector of that vector system, must be zero. Then the resultant vector of that vector system must be zero. Right. Look here. Example. You don't understand suddenly. Now I draw vector system. Then you understand. Now let's say now you can see a nice vector system. Let's say there's a vector. This vector is a vector simply. If not this vector is I say vector capital AB. And there's a vector system. This is vector BC for an example. And this is going to be vector CD. Careful listen. And this is vector DE. Right? You noticed that just try to apply polygon law, then you can start from any of the point. If you apply polygon law, I'm starting from let's say point capital E and I'm drawing the first vector, AB vector. From the point I finished drawing AB vector, I'm drawing the second vector BC. From the point I finished drawing the second vector BC, I'm drawing CD vector. Then I draw the DA vector. I started drawing the vectors from point capital E. Actually, point capital E was my initial point. And also, once I finish drawing the entire vector system, the final point of the vector system also same as point capital E. If you notice, initial point and final point both are same. If you notice, initial point and final point both are same. Remember the conclusion is, the resultant of these four vectors must be zero. You are starting to draw the vectors. There are four vectors, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now your target is to find the resultant vector of those four vectors. You started drawing from point capital A, and when you completely drawn those four vectors, and when you notice initial point and final point are same point, remember that vector system's resultant vector is zero. This vector system's resultant vector is zero. Resultant vector is zero. Very important story. Very important story. I will ask you one question. I need your response. Just raise your hand, raise down your hands. Just raise your hands. If not, raise down your hands. My question is, I will draw on the vector system. Just carefully listen. Starting point is A, B, B, C, C, D, D, E, F, D, E. Now you want to be very careful. You want to think. You want to just bring your eyes here and there properly. Raise your hand. Somebody will say, sir, in this vector system, how many vectors are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 vectors. So when we consider these 5 vectors, the resultant vector is 0 answer. So when you consider these 5 vectors, the resultant vector is 0 hands up. If you feel this, hands up. You don't look others. Yes, sir. I think that the resultant, as you explained before, if the initial point and final points are same, but you want to follow the polygon law, when you are following the polygon law by drawing each vector properly according to polygon law, when the initial point and final points are same, then only I told result vector is 0. In this diagram, ratio and harmony, we say that, sir, when I follow the polygon law, for these 5 vectors, resultant is 0 and sum. Result is 0 and sum. Sir, no, sir, result is not 0, sir. No, it's not 0 and sum. It's not 0 and sum. No, sir, not 0. Not 0 and sum. Not 0 and sum. Not 0, why? When you are following polygon law, there's a condition. The condition is arrows must flow in the same direction. Arrows must flow properly. Arrows must flow smoothly in the same direction, either clockwise manner or anti-clockwise manner. When you notice some kind of deviation in the arrows, even though it look like a closed circuit, even though initial point and final points are same, we can't tell result is 0. Why? See here. In here, look at the way arrows flowing. Started to apply polygon law from AB vector. Start from point capital E. Arrow flowing direction. Arrow flowing direction. Look here what the way I'm doing. Arrow is flowing. Okay, this direction arrow is flowing. Then B to C. Arrow is flowing smoothly in kind of anti-clockwise direction. Then arrow is flowing C to D. Arrow is flowing C to D. Then D to E. Arrow is flowing smoothly in the same direction, anti-clockwise manner. So therefore, initial point and final points were same. Therefore, the result is 0. But here, do you think your arrows are flowing in the same direction? They are starting like that only. Starting from point A, AB vector arrow is like this. A BC vector arrow looks like anti-clockwise manner. Unfortunately, this vector is DC. AB vector, BC vector, this arrow is opposite direction. Therefore, remember, arrows are not flowing in the same manner. Therefore, remember, even though it's a closed circuit, even though initial point and final points are same, remember, result is not 0. Result not 0 answer. Not 0. Not 0. Not 0. These are the important stories you want to remember. Right time is almost 8 o'clock. Answer the story is very clear answer. The story is very clear answer. The story is very clear answer, genuinely. The story is very clear answer. Very clear. Right. And okay. So we'll do that question number 29 and we'll decide whether stop the class or not. We'll decide it. Learn from something. Learn from something. If I go the diagram, pentagon, kind of pentagon. We can say kind of pentagon. Physics very interesting. Study properly. Now I can ask good standard questions for your exam. Now, big exam too, you want to switch on the camera and you want to do, right? You want to turn on your cameras. If you guys don't like to show the face, you can put a mask. And you can hide your face. You can hide your beautiful face. Right? This point capital E. Point capital B. And point capital C. And point capital D. And point capital E. What I want to find? I want to find the resultant vector. I want to find the resultant vector. How many vectors are there? AB vector is there. AB vector is there. AB this side. And then BC vector this direction, BC vector. And then CD vector this direction. And DE vector and EA vector. There is one more vector, that is AC vector. There is one more vector, the vector that is AC vector. Now look here, what can you say about ratio and homomorphism? Ratio and homomorphism, when you consider AC, CD, DE, EA vectors, result in 0 answer. When you consider AC, CD, DE, EA, result in 0 answer. Result is 0 answer. 0, right? That's it. Because you know that, sir, if I follow the polygon law, A to C, right, C to D, E to E, E to F, following same direction smoothly. Initial point and final point become 0. So when I consider these four vectors, result is 0. So you can remove these four vectors. Then the remaining is only A, B, and BC. Then the remaining going to be only A, B, and BC. I think now you understand what I'm doing. I think now you are very clear about vectors. Don't worry. There's a very big mission for you people. 26 people mission is going nicely. Right? 27 also same. Something bigger than 26 batch. You know myself, funny. Then A, B, and BC result is A to C. Initial point is A, final point is C. Triangle low story. Triangle low story. Result is AC. Nice story. Okay. Raise your hands. Session is very effective answer. Session is very effective answer. Session is very effective. Right, remember, look at the story. Now finished. Next day, as I told you, theory classes we are starting. I will put one extra class before next Thursday because I'm in a hurry of finishing a linear motion that TUT questions. I will put one extra class before next Thursday. I don't know when will I put. I also have no idea because I'm very busy. Right, I don't know when will I put. Before one day, prior to one day, I will tell you join. But you can get the recordings. And next story, next week, it's a new week. Tell your friends we are starting a new lesson, motion graph story. Tell your friends and please give us support and recommend our classes. And next week, we are starting the proper paper class. For the theory students who are enrolling, you get the paper book within 1 or 2 weeks. Maybe it takes some time because they didn't send yet. But anyways, I thought of doing this paper class free for only for August for all the students. So you can come, your friends also can come and get the benefit and leave. It's up to you. When it comes to 27 batch, my 27 so far 27 batch is proper second online batch. Proper first online batch is 26 batch. I'm doing something big job in 26 people. Right? I don't know if I get the power, if I get enough power, enough strength to do all my plans. I think that in English medium physics subject, I don't know anyone doing like this. I'm not degrading other teachers, but always I am just putting myself on top because considering the work that I am doing for 26 batch. If you just ask some 26 batch students, then they will tell about me. Now you know who I am. And I think now this time is enough to understand what type of person that I am. I think now you guys understood. 26 people will understand more about me. 26 batch people. Past evaluation is started. Still, we have done past paper MCQs and we completed some sections like dimensions, units, and but vectors and all. We haven't done past papers properly. We have time. For 26 batch, I have started past paper classes and I think covering you need to remember covering you need to all the past papers from 1990 to 2020 for A level is not easy as you think. There are 35 essay question to be done. There are more than there are more than I think 500 plus MCQs to be done, and there are plenty of structured essays to be done. There are around 35 structured essays to be done in mechanics. I think we have done before starting unit 3 for 26 batch people. I finished that. Right. Same thing as a separate paper class, as a separate past paper class. We are doing that past paper class. My mission in 26 batch for people in past paper classes before they go to the exam. Before the exam, I want to finish all the past paper MCQs. I'm not just doing few past paper MCQs from 2020 paper, doing 1 2 essay questions from 2022 A level paper. No. I am talking about full paper discussion. Section wise, full paper discussion. My mission there is I want to complete 1992 2020 for your batch 2026 A level. Still, I will do all the questions without skipping any single MCQ. I think for 26 batch that is going nicely. Parallelly, we started a good target paper class, paper writing class, paper marking, ranking, and developing, starting that average mark system, monthly topper. Always going to be topper for monthly. Every week there will be an exam. First week MCQ, second week essay, third week MCQ, fourth week essay. Till their A levels, they are writing every week into proper time by switch on the Zoom cameras. Every week within that given time, they want to send the answer sheet. Likewise, I am sending answer book. I am sending marking schemes. I am sending papers and all. right? They only want to take their pen and pencil, eraser, ruler, all the books and study material, everything else. I post it. But they are writing the paper properly. They're writing every week properly. And week one, let's say topper is, for an example, let's say week one topper is, let's say someone Zainab. Week two topper is Hafna. Week three topper is, let's say likewise. Monthly average, who is leading? Right? Sometimes one paper your marks is 50. The second paper your marks is, let's say 60. There were 40. Who is the topper average? Average in the monthly topper. Based on the monthly topper, I'm sending a mark system for them. For you, we'll develop more. So very soon we are starting that. Linear motion finished means motion graph finished. If I can complete till the kinematics, projectile motion and vertical motion, then we can start Newton laws. When we start Newton laws, then I think you are also matured enough and we can start the discussions and all properly. For your batch, I started the paper class bit earlier, right? But I am not giving target writing now. Now, in our paper class, main our vision is past paper discussion and model paper discussion. But I don't give time in the beginning stage, in phase one. Paper class and all, there are many phases. Phase one, phase two, phase three, phase four, likewise, it changes. For your batch summaries, we'll do something big. What I want is commitment. If you don't have the commitment, now you understand that now learning a subject like physics is not entertaining. Yeah, when you learn physics properly, interestingly, yeah, it's very entertaining. Like telling some jokes and like by making you laugh, and we can't do the story. I can't do that. I'm not a good joker also. I can't do that also. I'm not a good entertainer. But you know that I'm really good at explaining and I'm really good at guiding. But what I want, what I expect from you is whenever I tell something, sometimes very difficult. You don't believe these 24 best students. I'm talking about physical students. There are some girls from MLC school. Still, I can remember there are some Muslim girls. There are girls. For them, physical classes, we are doing morning to evening. Theory class 6 hour. And then paper class, then morning, let's say 8 to I do until 1 o'clock, 1:30 theory class. Then only 1 hour break. They are taking the lunch. Sometimes we all eat, have the lunch, something together or whatever. And then 2:30 onwards. 2:30 onwards, what we are doing, we are writing the paper and till 8:30 night. They came at morning 8 a.m. They are going back to home at 8:30. When they go back to home, the time will be 9:30 something, fully tired. Obviously, staying and studying from morning to night in a class, very tired. But whatever the I work, I give, I assign for them. There are some girls, I still they are going for good result. That's what I noticed. People who follow and people who die for this A level, I know that they will go for good results. So students, if I tell redo this question, try this paper before 12 a.m. Send me. I know there are some girls without missing any single day. They have done that. They have done. That's why their students have some good results. They have A's and good results. Same thing also I'm telling for you people also. Same story I'm telling for you people also. Right? When I tell you something, it's a must. If you think lazy, no need, sir is telling no need, I understood only need. No, sir, I understand. Don't think like that. If you think that yeah, we know everything only, you will realize you will don't know anything at the end of the exam. Therefore, follow what I say. I want the people who like to work with me, who follow what I say. Without thinking twice, I want the people who follow what I say. Then very easy to go to a result. People who become overheaded, people who don't follow what I am saying, then can't go a good journey with them. That's obvious, right? That's obvious. I think you guys, I don't know how many of you hands up, how many of you people, especially girls, how many of you girls just teaching for small kids, grade 5, 6, 7, maths, science, something, something. Hands up. How many of you guys teaching something for your small kids, something? Only one, two. There are many doing. Do that. We can earn something also. Then you understand that when the kids and the small students don't listen to you, then you understand about them, right? You know what will happen for the students. You know, same story here also. According to me, now you are kids. Even though you are 17, 16, no, I don't mind. You are kids for me, according to me. Then follow what I say. Then consistency very important. One day is doing, one day is coming, next day is absent. One day is coming, next day is absent. If you don't have a consistency, even you are the brightest in the universe, also you can't get 3 A's in Sri Lankan A system. Sri Lankan exam systems, even you are super bright, also you can't get 3 A's if you don't have a proper consistency. Therefore, keep all these things in your mind. Then work with me. We'll do something big stories in upcoming days, upcoming chapters. Then time is up. 8:15. Finish. Then done. Session is finished. We'll meet next day. Tata, bye bye. Tata, bye bye. Tata. Any. Sir, can I know the physical class time? We are doing physical classes on Sunday, normally 1 to 4 p.m. If just put a WhatsApp message, we'll talk further. Bye. Okay. Thank you, sir. And bye, sir. Okay.